Hello there and welcome to the Bearded Peacock. It's my channel where we talk all things Leeds United and of course George. Welcome along to the channel everybody, welcome back. And today the Premier League is back next week, or the Premier League is back actually on, it is next week, Boxing Day. Leeds United resume their campaign on the 28th, which is Wednesday, against none other than Manchester City, the champions. And we play them, of course, at Elland Road. Let me know if anybody of you watching, comment if you're going, and your score predictions and all that kind of thing. But today, Jesse Marsch has had his press conference today as I'm recording. If you're watching it tomorrow or whenever it was on Thursday afternoon, so we're just gonna pick out some key points from that. Look at the injury woes, worries, and all that kind of thing. Transfer news with the January transfer window coming up, of course, and just have a quick look at Man City, which obviously we know all about them, but I suppose you can say this is like a preview. Preview is back. Premier League football, like I said, is back. So let's get into it then and just pick the bones out of that press conference. From what I can remember, let me know in the comments anything else that I miss out here. But let's start then with the injury worries. Leeds United, like I said, as of recording this now, played last night in a friendly game, their last friendly before the resumption of the Premier League season, which ended in a 4-2 defeat to French team League side Monaco. I didn't see it. Anybody, again, comment there if you went, and how did we look? It was a little bit depleted, a Leeds United side. Obviously, we'll get to the injuries in a moment, but yeah, obviously lost 4-2. Goals first off from Robin Koch, his first in a Leeds United shirt, gave us the lead. We then went 4-1 down into the second half. It was 1-1 at half time. We absolutely capitulated. Diego Llorente came on and it just went from bad to worse, really. And then Joe Gelhardt scored a stoppage time penalty to sort of halve the deficit, but we still lost. Doesn't really matter, does it? It's all about getting the players that we have back into fitness, because we don't have that many first teamers available by the sound and hearing Jesse Marsch speak at the press conference this afternoon. Look, injuries are pretty bad. Obviously, they had an illness, they had a bit of a bug going around the camp, didn't they? Jack Harrison, Click as well as one of them ill. There was quite a few injuries though, and will miss the trip of Manchester City. Will be the likes of Cooper, the likes of Click, who was ill. Harrison, who may or may not make the Man City game, sat out both the Sociedad and the Monaco friendlies. There's obviously Bamford. There's quite a long list of players that are not going to feature against Man City next week, and it's a little bit worrying. I will probably try and predict a bit later on in the video sort of a starting 11 for Leeds United. I'm not going to predict Man City this time, but I will have a look at Leeds United and try and sort of pick out a starting 11 potentially. But Marsch, yeah, he said there was obviously plenty of injuries. The players might not make it. I think for me, I have got a starting lineup in mind that I think is not the strongest. Obviously, Chris Somerville is missing as well. Was injured in Spain a couple of weeks ago, and he might not make it. He said he's training tomorrow. Obviously, Illan Meslier looks like he's going to miss the City game as well. So we're going to be on second string, probably against the best team in the league. And of course, then Starman Erling Haaland, which Jesse Marsch, of course, did speak about Erling as well in his press conference, which we will get to momentarily. Yes, and then if we go into the transfers, he did start off that sort of section by talking about Matthias Klick. We all know that there's been an inquiry for him from DC United in America, But Jesse Marsch said how much he values Click. He's one of his most favourite personalities that he's ever coached in his career, which I'm not sure about that really. He's obviously coached a lot of top players and personalities, I'm sure. He obviously said that he's played all but three of Jesse Marsch's games since he came to Leeds United, 25 of 28 games, but most of them have come as a substitute as well. It is clear, and it's clear to me, really, that Marsch wants Click to stay, but I think he probably wants him to stay because he knows that the options are very much depleted. He spoke about having Adam Forshaw back and Sam Greenwood, which Sam Greenwood's not really a defensive midfielder or a centre midfielder. He's more of an attacking option, isn't he, really? So I don't see Greenwood as an actual option in centre midfield, but it doesn't matter what I think. Jesse Marsch seems to think he is an option, so he's a manager at the end of the day, isn't he? So he makes those decisions, and I do not, obviously. But yeah, Click for me. Let me know if you want to see Click stay. For me, it's glaringly obvious that he probably will go. I think we'll just end up. We need another body in centre midfield. We need bodies everywhere. To be fair, whether they pinpoint that as a thing that's a priority for January, I'm not so sure. But for me, I think we need three or four players in this window, and that's just the starters. They need to be really busy. He wasn't pushed on transfers. He didn't want to speak about it. Obviously, he's been told by the higher ups in the club not to speak of it because he's usually quite open and quite honest in his press conferences, and he has been about transfers, in the summer as well. But he's probably been told, just rein it in. We don't want too much going on. And to be fair, I think a lot of stuff was leaked in the summer that they probably didn't like. So keeping the cards a bit close to the chest, I think. I don't see that as a bad thing or a sign that we're not going to get anybody in, because it's, like I said, it's glaringly obvious that we need somebody in. We need somebody scoring goals. We need somebody, who can stop the goals at left back. We just need players in the door. Centre mid's a big one for me as well. But he didn't want to talk about it really. And he was wanting to more focus on the squad itself. Obviously, Rodrigo as well missed the game last night, and I think he'll probably be okay for City. Otherwise, it's Joffy, isn't it, to lead the line as he did last night for the whole game, I believe. And I think that lineup might not be too dissimilar that we might see against City. And in that case, it's already a hard game, isn't it? But we will struggle immensely. And I think, yeah, there's a lot of players out. There's some that I do think will be involved in some capacity, but we'll wait and see. Obviously, it's Man City. It's one of the hardest games you could have in world football, never mind in the Premier League. But we have shown that we can come up against them and beat them, like we did at the Etihad a couple of years ago. We got a positive result in the opposite game in that season, albeit with no fans. Since the fans have come in, obviously last season was a nightmare against them, wasn't it? 11 goals conceded without reply was a disaster. But they could do that to you, and obviously Haaland added to their squad this season is makes it even more difficult for Leeds United. Obviously, Jesse Marsch did speak on Erling Haaland, said he did text Jesse when the fixtures came out, and he said he was looking forward to Boxing Day as it was then. Obviously, it's been moved since to a couple of days later, but he obviously didn't play the World Cup, and this is a bad thing for us. I think he'll just be raring to go, won't he? It's a special game for him. I think it's probably the first time he'll have played at Elland Road, so he's not being played for a month or so. He's going to be absolutely chomping at the bit to get at us and enjoy his day at Leeds United on Wednesday afternoon or evening. I don't know. Is it evening time? I'm not even sure. when the kickoff time is for this one. But yeah, look, Haaland is going to be in. He's going to be buzzing for it. He's going to be wanting to get back on his scoring spree and get points for obviously Man City to push, perhaps probably for the title again. So let's wait and see. It's a difficult match. But latterly, just going back to Jesse's press conference, he spoke on the Mark Jackson rumour. He said how important Mark Jackson was, particularly last season in our bid, obviously successful bid to stay in the Premier League. In the end, he said without him, he didn't think that it would be possible to stay in the Premier League. He obviously rates him extremely highly, with the obvious rumours of him being in advanced talks now with MK Dons to take their managerial position. So we'll keep an eye on that one. But obviously Jesse Marsch would, by the sound of it, be very disappointed if he was to leave. But just just sort of to end the video, because we could ramble on for ages. Let me know in the comments how you're feeling about this game. Obviously, like I said, last season we got, we got beaten quite comfortably 4-0. Obviously 4-0 very comfortably. And the previous one was 1-1. Rodrigo replied to an early Sterling opener, and we found that we got a point. We played well that game, and I remember Gary Neville really, really eulogising about the way we played on that night under Bielsa. Obviously, no fans. It's difficult, but I think last season was when we were proper scrapping, weren't we? We had a run of really difficult fixtures. We was really fighting for our lives. And City, it was just one of them games that was so obviously going to be a 3-4-0, and it ended up being that. This time's slightly different, isn't it? Because we're not yet in a perilous position. We're in a sort of a slightly dodgy position, I'd say. But without playing for a month, who knows what the way these players are gonna be playing after the World Cup. Obviously, I forgot to say. Obviously, Adams is suspended as well after his red card against Spurs. Gives him a little bit more time to recover after the World Cup. But yeah, for me, the outcome might well be a City win, but I don't think it'll be, by so much, because Jesse did speak about the confidence the team has now that they can go and actually cause City problems, and they can go and get something potentially. Obviously, they'll take heart from Brentford, beating them at the Etihad as well before the break. But that, to me, just will fuel Man City's fire to just be like, let's not let that happen again. Let's just go straight in a routine win at Leeds. It's not as easy as that. I know Phil Foden has been speaking about, his enjoyment of playing against Leeds last season and everything like that. He seems to relish that atmosphere, but spoke highly of Leeds in a recent interview, and obviously said spoke highly of the fans, spoke highly of the club. So, mind you, they've kind of got to say that, but yeah, they're obviously taking it. Obviously, they'll take it seriously, but I just think they'll have way too much for us. But going into our starting 11, then I'll wrap it up because I'm going on a bit here. So, given all the injuries, it's almost like a second string team. I'm going to go with Robles in goal. Let's go 4-2-3-1 as always. I know he's mixed it up in the pre-season friendlies, but let's go with that for this game. Left back Struijk, centre backs. I think he'll put Ayling in at centre back with Robin Koch. Right back Christensen, Rocker, and I think he's going to go with. You know what? I think he's going to go with JB. Former team, against Man City. Maybe JB's going to be up for it. Debut. He's shown he could mix it with a Premier League side before the World Cup break in the Carabao Cup in Wolverhampton Wanderers. So for me, I think he puts JB in. Let me know in the comments if you think so. The most likely one would probably be Forshaw. Um, but, I'm going to go with a wild card. I'm going to think that he puts JB in. JB will definitely be involved in it. I think the game will probably come too soon for him. Um, it's going to be Forshaw or JB, isn't it? I'm going to go with JB and Forshaw on the bench, but let's wait and see. On the left, I think he'll put Nonto. I think Nonto is clearly impressed in the recent friendlies and before the break as well. I think Harrison, I don't think he'll risk Harrison. Maybe he'll put him on the bench, but I don't think he'll risk him from the start. On the other side, Somerville, I don't think he'll. Again, I think it'll probably come too soon for Crescencio as well. So yeah, I don't think he's going to play either. So I think, and obviously Cine's injured, isn't he still? So I think he will probably go with. Who's he going to go with? Maybe Greenwood. Maybe Greenwood out on the right wing. Um, and then possibly, obviously, it's going to be Aronson, who has no issues, luckily, in the middle behind. I think maybe Rodrigo will make it, and Gelhardt might have to sit on the bench. But let me know your thoughts on that starting 11. The only one that I'm a little bit unsure of is the right wing option. But I've gone with Greenwood. Maybe that's just a bit of a strange one out there. Obviously, I know he's more central, but I know they do have a lot of moving parts, as Jesse Marsch says in the press conference today. So a lot of players can just float around. Obviously, Sinisterra is injured, and so looking like Crescencio Somerville is as well. Hopefully, Cree can make it in time, but I personally, it's not really looking that good, is it, for him? But anyway, we'll wait and see. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are, on the transfer window, on the game itself, on Wednesday, and everything like that. But thanks so much for watching. Marching on together. I'll see you on the next one.